Let's be honest, the word networking makes most of us cringe a little, especially if you are an introvert. It brings up images of forced smiles, awkward small talk, name tags, and desperately trying to find a polite way to leave a conversation you never wanted to start. I get it. I have been there. As someone who's more comfortable writing than talking, who'd rather spend an evening alone with a good book than in a room full of strangers, I used to dread networking events. And for the longest time, I thought there was something wrong with me for not being able to work the room. But here's what I've learned. Networking doesn't have to be fake or draining. You don't have to pretend to be someone you are not. And you definitely don't need to become a social butterfly overnight. In fact, being an introvert might actually be your biggest strength when it comes to building meaningful professional connections. So in today's video, I'm going to share exactly how to network without feeling cringe, especially if you are an introvert. I'll walk you through mindset shifts, practical strategies, and yes, some personal stories of awkward encounters and what they taught me. So let's dive in. The first step is to redefine what networking actually means. When I was in college, I thought networking meant attending big events, shaking hands, and impressing people with clever one-liners. It felt transactional, and I didn't want to feel like I was using people or being used. But real networking isn't about collecting business cards. It's about building relationships. At its core, networking is just talking to people with shared interests. It's about genuine curiosity, mutual respect, and connection, not performance. I remember one of my early job interviews. It wasn't even a formal interview. A friend connected me to someone in her company and we just had a coffee chat. I didn't try to sell myself. I just asked questions. I listened. I shared a bit about myself and it felt right. And that conversation opened a door I didn't even know existed. And here's a mindset shift. Networking equals conversations plus curiosity plus consistency. You don't need to attend 100 events. You don't need to fake a loud personality. All you need to do is show up authentically and talk to one person at a time. And the best part, as introverts, we tend to be great listeners. And great listening is one of the most underrated networking superpowers. You don't have to start by attending massive conferences. Start small. Start where you feel safe. For me, my first real networking success didn't happen at a fancy event. It happened online through LinkedIn. I was following someone whose writing I admired, and one day I commented on their post. Nothing fancy, just a thoughtful comment. They replied. We ended up having a brief exchange which led to a DM conversation. And then, months later, a referral for a freelance gig. All of that stemmed from one genuine comment. That's the beauty of online networking. You get to be thoughtful. You get time to think before you respond. You can do it in your pajamas with a cup of tea. Here are some safe spaces to start networking if you are an introvert. Online communities. Think Reddit, niche Facebook groups, Discord channels. LinkedIn comments. Add value by commenting thoughtfully on posts in your field. DMs or emails. If you admire someone's work, send a kind note. Not a pitch, just appreciation. Alumni networks. These are often less intimidating and more supportive. Small meetups or workshops. Instead of big events, attend small skill-based workshops. The key is to look at networking as a one-on-one game, not a group performance. Think chess, not dodgeball. Start where you can be your calm, authentic self. That's where the best connections begin. Now let's talk about how to actually reach out to someone without feeling sleazy or needy. This part used to make me squirm. I'd draft messages and then never sent them. I was always worried I'd come across as awkward or desperate. But over time, I figured out a format that works and feels human. Here's what I learned. Keep it simple, respectful, and specific. Whether it's a DM, email, or LinkedIn message, structure it like this. Start with context. Where did you come across them? Share appreciation. What did you like or learn from them? Make a gentle ask, not for a job, but maybe for a 15-minute chat or to ask a specific question. For example, hi, I recently read your article on this topic and I found your take really insightful, especially your point about write the specific insight. I am currently exploring a similar path and would love to ask you a couple of questions if you're open to a short chat. Totally understand if your schedule is tight. Just wanted to reach out and say thank you. That's it. It's human. It's not pushy. And honestly, most people appreciate being appreciated. A quick tip here, avoid sending mass messages. Personalize. Don't ask for big things upfront. End with an easy out. Totally understand if now isn't a good time. I've made connections that way I never thought were possible just because I took 3 minutes to send a thoughtful note. And even if they don't reply, that's okay. You have planted a seed. Move on. Try again. One of the reasons introverts dread networking is because we think we have to impress people. But what if you took that pressure off? Instead of showing up to stand out, what if you just showed up to learn? When I started attending webinars and meetings, I stopped worrying about sounding smart. I'd go with a simple goal: learn something new, and if I can, ask one question. That mindset shift changed everything. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to sound like an expert. In fact, asking thoughtful questions is often more powerful than giving clear answers. When I went to my first offline networking event, a tech meetup, I didn't try to impress anyone. I just asked one person, "What brings you here?" That one question sparked a 20-minute conversation and a new friend. Here are some low-pressure ways to start a conversation. What got you interested in this topic? What's been your favorite session today? How did you find out about this event? Simple, open-ended, human. You're not trying to close a deal. You are just trying to connect. This is where most people drop the ball, even extroverts. You have met someone, had a nice chat, and then nothing. Introverts often assume the other person isn't interested or we don't want to bother them. But the follow-up doesn't have to be salesy or awkward. Think of it as continuing the conversation. Here's what worked for me. Send a follow-up message within 24 to 48 hours. Something simple like, "Hey, really enjoyed our conversation at the event. Loved hearing your thoughts on the specific topic. Let's stay in touch." If you connected on LinkedIn, write a custom message instead of the default request. Share something of value later, a link, an article, an event they might like. Don't always make it about you. Give first, then build slowly. Real relationships take time. One follow-up can turn into a meaningful relationship or mentorship down the line. And if they don't respond, that's fine. You tried. You were kind. That's enough. Let's talk about the internal noise that can make networking feel unbearable. Your inner critique. You know that voice, the one that says, "Why would they want to talk to you? You are going to say something stupid. You are not interesting enough." For introverts, this voice tends to be loud because we spend a lot of time in our heads, and when it comes to networking, that inner chatter can paralyze us before we even start. I remember once being invited to a small leadership dinner. I was the youngest person there. I spent the first 15 minutes in the bathroom psyching myself up, telling myself I belonged, even though I didn't feel like I did. Eventually, I walked out, sat down, and listened. I didn't dominate the conversation, but I contributed a few thoughtful questions. And afterwards, one of the senior leaders told me, "You ask great questions. You made me think." That moment stayed with me, not because I was impressive, but because I showed up despite the voice. You don't have to silence the critic completely. You just have to stop letting it drive. Networking as an introvert works best when you do it your way and at your pace. You don't need to go to 3 events a week or message 5 people a day. That's a quick road to burnout. Instead, build a rhythm that works for you. Here's what that looks like for me. One small networking action per week. Sometimes that's sending a DM. Sometimes it's attending a virtual session. One meaningful conversation a month. Just one, that's enough. A quarterly check-in. Who have I lost touch with that I miss? Did I make space for recovery? After a conversation-heavy day, I give myself quiet time. I go for a walk. I journal. I recharge. Because networking isn't just about connection. It's about sustainable connection. And for introverts, that means protecting your energy while still showing up. If you force yourself into an extrovert space, you'll dread it. But if you design it around your energy, your needs, your rhythm, it'll actually become enjoyable. Slow is okay. Quiet is okay. Thoughtful is powerful. If you are an introvert and the word networking still makes you cringe, I hope today's video helped soften that a little bit. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. You don't have to fake confidence, and you don't need to hustle your way through awkward conversations. All you need is the willingness to show up authentically, consistently, and kindly. So the next time you're tempted to skip that webinar, ignore that DM, or not send that email, pause, take a deep breath. Remember, you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be real. And if you have ever had a networking experience that didn't feel cringe but felt meaningful, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Or if you have been too scared to try, tell me that too. Let's talk about it. Because honestly, you are not alone. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep growing.